first rant from Nidal. And they say, after a year of denial of my autoimmune disease, I finally had the heart to reach out to a rheumatologist 2 years ago. And I was diagnosed with not one, but 3 autoimmune disorders that overlap. Being in the healthcare community, I expected people who are working with me to understand my symptoms and the fact that this is a disability and not something I am overthinking or I can ignore the symptoms away. Even as a doctor myself, it was tough for me to make people understand how the disease affected me over the years and how it still is a new day for me every day. People are very uneducated in the rheumatology field, and it's heartbreaking that my own colleagues who are themselves doctors don't support me or understand me and my disease. Wow.
Wow.
Indeed. That's what I was thinking the whole time. Wow.
Wow. That's a really powerful one to start off with. Because that
there's
just
a lot
shows,
there.
Wow, that just shows the how much of a gap there is of our diseases and people understanding them, that doctors themselves don't even know what's going on.
Yeah, I think that's it in a nutshell. I think we can end the episode now. That's it. That summarized literally everything.
I don't have anything to add to Nidal's post. I think it just speaks for itself.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and Nidal, I'm sorry if we're mispronouncing your name. Hopefully we got it right. I think this speaks to a lot of stories I've heard from people who are rheumatology professionals who have such limited knowledge of the diseases they treat because a lot of them don't live with them. But also, I want to point out that rheumatologists treat, over 200 conditions.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, impossible for them to know the ins and outs of every single one. But at the same time, even if another medical doctor or other HCP, whether it's a nurse practitioner or, PA or nurse, even if their colleagues cannot engage with them, that is how bad it is for people who are not healthcare providers. And I think it also speaks to, if we expand it even more, to stories I've heard from Black women MDs who have had really bad experiences, going to hospitals where they have to divulge, I am a doctor, before they are taken seriously, or maybe sometimes they aren't. So anyway, that was just a tangent, but yeah.
Absolutely. And I think that Nidal also speaks about the denial of having an autoimmune disease and not being diagnosed with 1, but 3 all at the same time. And that's kind of the part that I want to highlight is the denial too. It's I'm a doctor. I know exactly what's going on, and it's not that big of a deal. It's the downplaying of the symptoms, because a lot of people can mistake our diseases for anything else that might be happening in their life. They might have run too hard, so that's why they're having joint pain, or they work too hard at work, so that's why they're having fatigue. It's really easy to try to convince yourself that you don't have one of our diseases, pretty much.
Yeah, that ties directly into ableism too, and there's so much ableism in medicine where doctors are put through these rigorous training programs where there's bullying, I know, and they're working 12-hour shifts, and it's exhausting. And if you can't keep up, then you can't be a doctor. It's sort of there's a lot of gaslighting, and I'm not speaking from experience, obviously, but these are stories I read all the time from people who either dropped out of med school and identify as disabled, and and for Nidal to use the word disability is really, I'm really glad that happened, because a lot of doctors don't like using that terminology, because it signifies like this person can't be fixed, like where it's a very medicalized version of disability, rather than a model of disability where if you have the right supports in place, your life is more functional and you can, exist without like a lot of the barriers that doctors even sometimes impose on people for like denying mobility aids and assistive devices and whatnot, because you should just push through this disease.
Absolutely.
A few years ago, I was diagnosed with severe hearing loss. When I noticed that my hearing was not what it was, I contacted my primary, and they said to me, oh, it's just you might have clogged ears, or maybe it's a recurring ear infection. You don't need to be seen by an ENT. Well, that went back and forth for about 2 years. And I finally told this doctor, I said, I'm done with you. That's it, whatever. So I actually contacted all the ENTs that were in my area where I was living at the time. And all of them said, I need a referral, I need a referral, I need a referral, until the very last one I came to, talked to their staff on the phone, and they said, you can come in here. And I said, I'm willing to pay out of pocket. I said, I just want a hearing test. I just want a confirmation that I have hearing loss. And of course, yes, I went in and I have severe hearing loss. But for a physician to deny a patient a request to see a specific doctor or a specialist is just, that's, I don't, well, I have a lot of words for that, but we'll just leave it at that.
This is the rant episode, so.
Yeah. Okay, it's unacceptable. You take an oath to help people and you deny me that I know that I have hearing loss. I can't hear anything on the TV. I can't hear anybody on the phone. I mean, come on.
Yep. There you go, Patrice. Let it out.
I could spend a whole hour on that, but yeah.
Absolutely. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next one, if that's okay with both of you. If there's anything else that you wanted to say about the previous one.
Next.
Alrighty. Next up. So we have Lindy, and Lindy says, how can I possibly feel so awful and pain almost everywhere, yet most test results are within normal range? Then they say, I just need to be more active. What do they think? I sit around in the house all day, do more exercise, and then in a week I'll recover, or not, because I might have a flare-up from pushing myself too much. Oh, and have you tried losing weight? If you lost 15 kilograms, you would feel like a new woman. Duh. As if I haven't been trying to lose weight. Don't they listen to me? Things change in my body, even my metabolism, and almost nothing resembles the person I was before getting sick. They see the results of an underlying issue, but not trying to find out the causes. I have Sjogren's and arthritis and fibromyalgia, but even with those diagnoses, they always manage to make me feel like it's all in my head, like it's not a big deal, and I mustn't cope well with pain. For once, I would like to have my feelings validated and not each appointment feeling worse than ever. Man, that is very, 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 very relatable. So relatable.
Yeah, I think all of us have heard that at one time or another in our journeys with our diseases. I have, and that's a story for another time. But yeah, I could, because my blood work is, for the most part, has been on an even keel the last couple of years, with the exception of my ANA screening. And that is always off the charts. But I had a physician a couple of years ago who told me that I don't have arthritis. I since have a new rheumatologist, and they have told me, yes, you do indeed have RA.
Yeah. I love when gaslighting is just like every person who has been diagnosed with a chronic disease knows what gaslighting feels like, even if they don't have the term for it. I so I have a friend who I was texting with today who's getting a colonoscopy soon, and she's talking about like, well, I'd rather have them do this while they're in there if they see evidence or whatever. And I responded something like, well, whatever happens, I hope they actually find answers rather than say, congratulations, everything's fine. Like, we dread that in this community where, like, we obviously have symptoms of something, even if our blood work comes back normal or our imaging comes back normal. I'm saying that in quotations. Within normal ranges is better terminology. We still need answers, even if it's just validation from that doctor. And like, if we were asking during this episode and answering the question, am I the bleep hole, which I actually was joking about while we were talking about this episode, that it should be, am I the expert? And it's like, yes, if you are experiencing something and your doctor is saying, congratulations, you're fine, you are definitely the expert. Because it's your own body, you're feeling something, Lindy, you are the expert.
Absolutely. And I just wanted to talk a little bit more about the whole, exercise is supposed to help you with your disease activity kind of conundrum, because that's been, it really has been a conundrum for me. I grew up as a dancer doing every type of dance that you could think of: ballet, tap, hip hop, jazz, Tahitian, all of the different types of dances. I played volleyball up until my junior year of high school. And I was diagnosed with my lupus at 12. And even with all the physical activity and trying to eat right and being, I was given a dietitian when I was 12 years old because I was morbidly obese. It's, it's very disheartening to, feel like, okay, people are telling you need to exercise, and I try to exercise, but then I tweak my Achilles heel, or I am so exhausted after that I can't even do my homework or go to work. And it's like, what do you do? Do you stay in bed and even though, you think that you're resting, but you also kind of are fighting with yourself that you should probably go and work out because that also is good for you. It's like, how do you know what is best for you at that time? And I always end up, if I'm going too hard with working out, I end up getting injured. And it's such a hard thing to balance and to know how much is too much and how much isn't enough when it comes to your own body and exercise expectations and things like that. It's just really hard to know.
Yeah, and thank you for saying that, Layla. I think it also, like, we're getting in the territory with what you just shared and what Lindy shared, that there's this really harmful trope in the medical world where, and this is part of ableism too, where obviously if you are not improving and you are still symptomatic, it means that you are not doing enough. And it's this whole idea that like disabled people just aren't trying hard enough to feel better. And that goes beyond medicine into, psychosocial cultural life, where strangers on the street will be like, why are you using a wheelchair if you can walk? Or like, if you just walked, you wouldn't need a wheelchair. Or if you park in an accessible spot and you look fine, in quotations, it's just such really damaging trope that leads to people having internalized ableism and shaming themselves for, not improving, not getting better, not trying hard enough. And it's just so frustrating. I'm so glad this is the rant episode, because that is what we are doing.